Good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you are. I hope you're having a wonderful time. You can call me Dragon, and today we'll be working on MonsterStone, figuring out what the next step should actually be, because what we managed to do so far is that, let's get this out of the way. We have a settings configuration menu, something that I've been really wanting for quite a while actually. Ever since we started implementing sounds for the game, I kind of wanted one of these so that we could set the sound settings for the game from within the game. Up until now, I've basically been adjusting it in OBS so it doesn't get too loud, and you know, obviously that doesn't really do a good job. So you can set the sounds now. In the same sort of chain of events, we also have a graphics and a gameplay menu. For gameplay yesterday, we implemented some camera settings, and there's a couple things that I want to add in here in the future as well, including a auto clicker under like an accessibility feature or something. Maybe that's something we could take a look at today. Another thing that we need to do is keybinds, a menu that we can use to change keybinds, and I have no idea how it works. So we'll have to figure that out, I guess. So it's gonna require a little bit of Googling and such, but I'm sure we can manage. And beyond that, I mean, this menu is pretty much feature complete for what it needs to be. The graphics menu can also be expanded a little bit with resolution changes and some other things, but it's not super necessary because when you start the game right now, you do get that very classic Unity graphics options sort of displayed in front of you, where you can also set your resolution. So the game doesn't inherently have to set it like do that itself. So, and besides, the graphic settings are a little bit of a weird thing on its own, because yeah, well we can get into that when we hit that road bump, if we will. But yeah, so maybe today's goal should be and try and implement that auto clicker for an accessibility feature. Let's try and see what we can do. I've been thinking a little bit on how to do it off stream, because it might cause a little bit of headache, and I will get into why if it does. So the thing is, we have the idle clicker here, which is the very first thing that I made and has continuously been expanding upon. Now the issue of this is that there's a lot of stuff going on in here, and oh boy, like where to even start? So one thing that is something I do remember is that this fixed update here is the physics interactions. Like somewhere along this flow is where your mouse interactions with everything that is, or everything UI and in world that is not governed by other systems. So it does a couple things. First of all, it makes sure that your mouse is actually within the screen. And we're also checking whether or not we're saving the game so that we don't try and change stuff while we're saving the game. Similarly as to when we're loading. So basically, if we're loading a game, we just cannot interact with anything on the screen, period. Like, that's the failsafe for all that. And then we've got a blocking UI, which has a super unit, which has its own fixed update. And this does some weird stuff with the pointer event data. I don't even remember any of this. Check for blocking UI. And then it sets it's blocked by UI. Okay. And then if it's blocked by UI, then or not blocked by UI, then we can interact with something, basically. I think it's something to do with Is it like a layer or something? Let's see. Yeah, I have no idea. Are we trying to leave the area? That's like if you're progressing from one level to another. I know that. So this is getting set somewhere else. And then we do two things. So first we go up here and then we raycast from screen point to scene. So only here do we actually do any raycasting to figure out if there's anything we should interact with. That's fairly standard. And then depending on, or no, then after this, we set the position of the interaction marker. If I remember correctly, the interaction marker is just the light source that you see in the game. So basically, wherever your mouse goes, it moves this interaction marker object along with it. It gives it an offset, basically. And then here we get the ground hit point, which is then stored as a raycast hit ground set. So this is basically the raycasting, so like us interacting, like hitting something. And we're doing another raycast here, right? Yeah, I can't remember what the difference between these two is. What layers is this? This is selectable layer and secondary resource, and this one is build layer, selectable layer, secondary resource, and build layer and secondary resource. Okay. I think it's because there's like a difference between different types of terrain. A little bit hard to put into words, I guess. So we raycast, and then we take that data, and then we do stuff up with it here. So the first thing is that we acquire a target, and then we set that as a game object. So basically, whatever it is that we're looking at with our mouse, that gets stored as a target game object when you're interacting with it. Or is it just, no, it's just when you're looking at it, actually. And that's every update. Okay. Is that actually the case? It doesn't seem like there's any on mouse input until down here, for instance. I think this is just acquisition of targets. So if we don't have a valid target, then what? Disable generate menu UI, disable tooltip UI. Yeah, so this is like for if you're hovering over something that needs to show a tooltip, for instance, and then you hover away from it, then obviously we need to disable it. So I'm just doing it every update because it's a little bit easier to do it this way, instead of taking into account all the edge cases that might be present. And of course we clear the target game object because in this instance there is no target. Which it complains about because it says it can't be null, but it can, assuming you do your null checks. However, if we do have a valid target and we are not interacting with something, which is a check used for other things, then we set that target object to whatever it is we're looking at, and then there's a sequence of many steps here, one that isn't even used at the moment. And this is basically, okay, so what are we like hovering above? Is it a secondary resource, harvestable object, attackable enemy? And what it does is that it looks at the target game object, and of course we do the null check here, so we do have a target. Actually, we're only doing it up there. I guess it doesn't really matter to do that null check. That must just be a leftover. Because I see we're also doing one down here. I'm not entirely sure why. Should technically just be in every single one of them, but it can't really get down here if it's null now, can it? Because it does the null check here as to whether or not it should set it, and then the very first thing it does is setting it, so these null checks shouldn't really be necessary. Let's get a little bit messy around here though. Yeah, I'll just leave those null checks blocks in there and then I can hook them up so I don't forget where they were. Anyways, but yeah, basically I take that target game object you're looking at, then we do a get component to figure out if it has a specific script, since the script that's on them define what type of object it is that we're interacting with. So if it does a get component and it's not null, aka it has that component, then we do various things based on what it is that we're looking at. So if it's a tooltip, then we need to enable it, of course. And then run like a function to update the UI. This is one of those instances that are few, but they do exist where I'm actually doing things through script, if I remember correctly. And as far as I can remember, it's because back then I was still new to using Bolt, so a lot of things I didn't even know how to do outside of C# scripting, so it was a little bit easier to do it this way. Now I'm trying like diligently to almost always only use Bolt because it makes things a bit more consistent. Instead of this, it's like, okay, this is a black box where your code goes into and then it does something. So in this case, if you wanted to know exactly what this does, you'd have to open up the script, and that really breaks the development flow when using something like Bolt exclusively for everything else. Because you're so highly dependent on knowing what the scripts actually do instead of just, you know, being able to see it in here, have it a super unit or whatever it be. Anyways, and the same thing again, like there's a tooltip UI that's used. It's a multi-purpose thing, but it depends on what you're looking at, whether or not it's like a resource or an object you can harvest and so forth. And we also have one if it's a generation building where we need to look at, like, show a UI for that generate building UI. This is an example, yeah. So that's what all this does. It just looks at things and determines whether or not it should display UI elements based on what you're pointing at without interacting. Now the second line down here though, this is where the magic happens. So we have an input on mouse. We do a symbol is blocked by UI bool check, which is handled somewhere else. And we also check if we're already interacting with something. I can't remember why that is. But you know, I'm just gonna ignore everything that I don't remember. So what's a valid non-UI object clicked? So if that is false, then we still need to check if we clicked on a UI object, because there's like some UI that needs to be disabled whenever you click away from something. So this is basically to make sure that, oh, if I click an empty space in the game, then it disables like any UI that might be open, basically like a construction menu or a craft menu for a specific building or a quest or literally anything I can think of. I can just chuck that in the disable UI super unit and then add another step to it. And since this just sets them to be active or inactive, I'm just doing it all in like one chain and not checking if active is true. I'm just doing it. I don't know if it's better to check if they are set to active and then if they are, then disable them. So you basically check for every single one if they even need to be set active. But my assumption is that it inherently might already do that. Where, I mean, if you activate something that's already active, then it doesn't do anything, and vice versa if it's inactive. And you set it to inactive, then I assume it doesn't do anything either. It might go and try and do that, but then, you know, every other step is like, oh, okay, that's already active, I hope. You know, you can profile your way to figure out if that's like a huge impact, but I mean, we've played the game, it doesn't seem like an issue at all. Disable item inventory UI. This is a relatively new thing because the item inventory is a work in progress mechanic. And then here, target game objects. So this is like, okay, are we looking at something that you know, in relation to this, like we do have a valid target, for instance. And the reason why is because uh-oh. Yeah, okay. Just making sure that invisible was not supposed to be tagged. So these are the raycasting layers. So basically everything that's outside of a selectable layer or secondary resource layer will just not be non-interactable with all this. So this is a way to do broad strokes physics interaction calling with your raycasts, and it's very highly recommended that you do for things where there's like a large group of objects that need to be interacted with, but not everything else, basically. And then we just check, okay, do we actually have a valid target object? And if we do, then we can move forward. And we do two things. First of all, then we need to check if we're leaving the game area, because if we're doing that, I should not be able to like interact with things really quickly by clicking like on other things, so it locks up the game basically temporarily. And then it's very similar to what we had up here actually. It's just like a sequence of various checks. So like, is it level end that we clicked on, for instance? Because when we do that, there's a bunch of things that need to be figured out. Yeah, and I have a weird suspicion that this is all... actually, no, not necessarily. A lot of this is like disabling UI. Because when we click on this, I need to make sure the tooltip UI and a bunch of other things are disabled, because otherwise they are on top of it. And then of course there's like the cost that's calculated for whether or not you can actually to beat a level. This is like the final quest that you need to beat in order to move from one area to the next, which is handled separately from regular quests, if you will. Okay. And then it is a similar check for whether or not we're abandoning levels, if it is a regular quest, or if it's leave level. I think leave level is for the main storyline, because that had to be handled separately. Not to be confused by abandon level. Because abandoning levels is like, oh, I can't actually beat this one because I can't afford or unable to meet the requirements to beat it, so you need to like take a step backwards basically and just get a new level, like a fresh level, but yeah, it affects the multiplier and stuff. Anyways, so that's all basically completing quests and making progress. That's all those checks over there. And then this other one here, which is the second part of this sequence. Like this could technically be, you know, just more branches in this sequence over here, but I decided to split them in two. So over here again, oh yeah, also because we seemingly have to do this. But yeah, it's like a sequence of 9 different checks again. A lot of get components, but it's like I looked up trying to figure out how to do like target acquisition and figure like filtering based on various parameters, and from what I gathered, doing a get component in order to figure out what you're clicking on, like what it is, was the most efficient that they mentioned. But yeah, this is all like, oh, is it a harvestable object? Is this a secondary resource gathered? And so forth. Is it an upgrade building? Is it an attackable enemy? Loot chest? Processing building? Interactable button? Interactable rotation? These are for a puzzle system I've made. And then, is it item collectible? I think this is like separate from secondary resources. Yeah, it's behaving very similar, most likely. Yeah. Hmm. It might be something I have to revisit at some point when I get back into doing that. Okay. But everything else I don't really need to look at. All this is basically systems that shouldn't even be in here, to be honest. Because a lot of this is like saving and loading of level data, which should have been separated, but I got too far in and now it's just stuck here. Anyways, so to make an auto clicker, I think this is where we need to affect stuff. Because right now we have on mouse input checked here. And then it goes through this whole chain of events. Well, I don't have anything bound to right click in the game. Maybe that could be like an auto clicker keybind. That could be cool. Because I don't think there's a, like, literally every interaction in the game is just left clicking on stuff. And then you have camera controls on your keyboard, and that's pretty much it. Maybe there's going to be like extra shortcuts for some inventory items. But yeah, this is probably where we need to put it in. The real question though is, how to do this? I think we can do it with a simple bool check actually. So on right click, we basically toggle the state of the bool to either be on or off. And then we do like, I guess it would have to be a fixed update. Yeah, because this is, even though it looks like it, the flow here is actually not connected with the rest up here. So this update does not connect down here. This is all interacted with only when you click on things. But what we could do here is have another one, which also hooks into the same logic, so follows the entire route. But then in between the things like all these quests and such, and some of the buildings, we make a bool check to see if you're auto clicking, basically. Because then if you're auto clicking, then we don't want it to what do you call it, like open up upgrade buildings and stuff, but we want it to still hit attackable enemies. And that's where like me implementing an auto clicker into my game has the possibility of becoming way superior than anyone could do as like a second-hand tool anyway. And I've always wanted to do this anyway. But the question is, do I need to do this twice? All of this logic here. Not exactly sure why the disable item UI is up here either. I wonder if that's like a temporary thing that I did to test stuff. Because it shouldn't be there. It should be in disable UI, I think. Let's see what we have in level, blah blah blah. Is there item inventory? There is. So in here we do disable the item inventory UI, okay. So why am I also doing it here, I wonder? Let's see what's in one of these. I mean, there's clearly a lot of stuff, but does not seem like there's any disabling of UI at a glance. This is literally just handles the collection of resources, which is what it should be, honestly. But these guys, did they have Yeah, they've got like disable, level, leave UI, and level, quest UI, tooltip UI, abandon level UI. So it's possible that I should probably add it to these. And then that should be it, I think. Or should it? As far as I remember, like this says like false, right? So was a UI object clicked? No. UI object clicked? No. Then disable UI. Okay. Tell you what, we'll take a look. Because it's a game feature that I need to implement fully at some point, but you know. I think, is it in here? No. Item bag button. This thing here. Something that I need to implement fully at some point, but might as well handle this while I'm looking at it before I forget. Since we're here and all that. The heck? Oh, right. I forgot we have that script that disables the UI for me and such. But yeah, this is the item UI. Doesn't seem like necessarily need that. Check. No. It's not really necessary. It's like just a helping. Like you can open it once you open like a quest and such, but it's so that, oh, if this is open and you accidentally click on something in the background or like an interactable object, then it doesn't get in the way, basically. Were items even implemented? I can't recall. Oh right, no, they were not. They are, but they're not. Is it in my test hierarchy? Because I've got like some wacky shit in here that's not in the game yet. We're talking like puzzles, puzzle mechanics that trigger things. We've got laser beams that you can move around and such. So you can do like laser puzzles if you want to. Makes this cube spin. Just some experimental stuff. Similarly, this cube will spin if you figure out like how to press down all these buttons. It's not really like a... Like that's probably a method to it. I'm so bad at this. There we go. Aha, I solved the puzzle. I was also working on torches that could show, a little bit like Legend of Zelda-esque. But yeah, torches that could light up to indicate that something was working and stuff. But that is not the hierarchy that we were looking at before. I think. Yeah, this is just my puzzle testing hierarchy. Oh, this is okay. There's one item that's collectible. I can't even remember that I managed to get all of this shit done. They don't do anything, they just look interesting. And there's like some random generation effects on this. But yeah, that's like that's something I don't plan on implementing for the polished demo. This is for early access. Because this is like what do you call it, a mid to end game mechanic where you get like modifiers and stuff so that that affect things in percentages. And then equipping them in, you know, you want to get better and better ones, so. Okay, well, let's take a look in getting that auto clicker implemented. Where to start? Well, I guess one place would be in the idle clicker script. Oh boy, we need to add another variable to this fucking monstrosity. Dear God. Save us all. At some point I really need to get through this and what are they called? Add the headers? Is that what they're calling in? Yeah, these headers. Because right now it's like if everything in here got unassigned, I would not know where to start. It would probably take me an entire day, if not more, just to figure out where everything goes. So we don't do that. That's a big no-no. Hey Argron. Morning to you as well. Are you heading to work or do you have a day off today? Just woke up. You're off. Ooh, what's your plan for the day then? It's like Thursday, yeah. Borderlands 3. Nice. I still need to beat that game. It's like I got kind of into it, but yeah. Maybe a few other games. Yeah, I'm planning on playing some 7 Days to Die tomorrow. We got a Undead Legacy modded server running that can support up towards 8 people. And it's hosted by a good friend of mine, so it's a dedicated server that's running in his basement. Should be good. We already played a little bit on it so far. And it's gonna be like open to the... I don't know how you want to put that, but integrated community, I guess. Everyone who's basically been watching the stream for more than 10 hours, you know, minimum. They get access to the server access on my Discord. Afterwards, later today, you need to clean a bit and exercise, so you'll do Beat Saber for that, just to chill. Oh man. Speaking of Beat Saber, there's that fucking EDM track that's... like when you watch trailers for Beat Saber, that I can't remember the name of it. It's quite catchy, but that track is like I found a chart for it for Clone Hero. It's kind of meta and stupid, but you know, it sort of works. Sounds cool. Yeah, it's actually Undead Legacy has been quite nice so far. It's what do you call it? A vanilla plus is what we call it so far. It's not super over top than as compared to some of the other mods that we tried. Like namely Darkness Falls is what it's called. That one is just ridiculous.
Shit. Here we go again.
Okay. Oh no.
You're a fucking nerd.
Hey Toto, I guess.
You're a
It would have to be Toto. Probably a Camellia song. I can't remember. Hold on. I can figure out real quick. Not in custom. It's in songs. It would either be streamer or custom. Okay, maybe it's not that easy. Damn it. Okay, I thought it would have been easy to find actually, but I don't see it in here. Unless it would be in full albums. No, why would it be in there? Like at some point I downloaded oh wait, maybe it's because I downloaded like a couple collections and there were like tracks from shows, for instance. But there was also one with video games. Do I have a video game music? I do have a video game music. Pax mixed ska metal. Frank Lepaki. It wasn't mixed. I think this is definitely looking like some video game music. Could it be this one? I don't really know. I cannot remember. Yeah, this one is just empty. Let's just get rid of that. But yeah, it's super meta. My plan for the day is to implement at least an auto clicker into my game. So that's gonna be fun. Because if I don't, then people will just use one anyway. And it's gonna, like, I can do one that's better than the one that people can get online anyway. But yeah, to do so, we need a couple things. We need a bool. But I don't know where to put it. That's like what I'm thinking about at least. So let's see, what do we have in this hierarchy? End level yes button, no button. Like there's just way too many things here. This is like a case where I should really just have made a generic yes and like just a generic button script that just sends an event to a game object. Done. Because then I wouldn't have to have all these references on the idle clicker, for instance, but then just do it in inverse and then just it would be event based, right? But that's like a thing where, okay, I know that I can do that now and how to do that now, and I should do that, but a little bit too late when you're this deep in. So next game project. That being said though, so it's idle clicker true. I don't even know if we should just add it to the top. Oh well. Let's just do that. Doesn't even really matter where you put it, so yeah. Let's see, idle auto clicker enabled. And of course it's just going to be false by default. And I don't think this we might be able to do it without defining any other variables. No, wait, we do need one more. We do need a variable, a float that can tell where we can define the auto clicker interval, basically, like how often it auto clicks. What would you even call that? Because usually it's like an auto clicker delay. So how, yeah, auto clicker delay. Because it's how many milliseconds or whatever measure of time, frames or whatever you do. It's worth of delay basically. And because it's integrated into the game, I can make it all the way down to 1 frame if I really wanted it to. Which is the very, like, fastest it would ever be able to do. Basically, you know, it could be frame locked, FPS locked. So if you've got 120 frames, it would do 120 clicks a second. A little bit nuts, and probably way overkill. So I don't know, I'll probably set a limit on it because I have a feeling it would also lag out the game if you could click that frequently. After all, like, most people on average, I think, can click about, what is it, 100 clicks per minute or something. I can't even recall what it was. I remember doing like a speed click, like clicking speed test many years ago, and I think it was like about 10 clicks per second or so if I really tried. But that's, you know, obviously trying, so. Let's update the unit options so we get them in here. Oh shit, I forgot. I'm a dum-dum. I gave it a name, but I forgot to change the type to float. But yeah, a lot of this is also because all of these variables is because this idle clicker is taking care of the interaction with the environment and not the objects themselves. So I don't have like a generic script for UI objects say that, oh, am I being raycasted? Like, they don't check for whether or not they're being raycasted. And then if you press the mouse, then it needs to see like, oh, okay, what did you click? And then send an event back to what clicked it. Instead, here I say like, oh, okay, all these UI objects, they're dependent on the idle clicker and what it does. Let's change that to float. Could probably be an integer, but let's do float. Unfortunately, we do have to update unit options again. I wonder if it's going to take just as long. After all, the idle clicker is a pretty big thing, so there's a lot of variables too. And my suspicion is that whenever you change the contents of a script, adding more variables and you update unit options, then it has to basically do the whole thing. Otherwise, it seems to be relatively fast for the most part. But yeah, Undead Legacy tomorrow, so anyone who's got access to the server, feel free to jump by pretty much. And I don't know what we do on Saturday. Again, I've got way too many games to play. But it could either be just more Undead Legacy if people are in for it. Or we could check out some games that are on the back burner. Oh right, I should not forget Shipbreaker. But I really wanted to play Shipbreaker last weekend because it got a 1.0 release. But I got sidetracked and ended up playing Vintage Story on stream instead. So probably Shipbreaker actually on Saturday. I could also, see, this is the thing, I could also do Shipbreaker tomorrow and then we do Undead Legacy Saturday. I do play 7 Days to Die off stream though, just FYI, so I am already like getting settled in along with blue key and peak a little bit. Okay, so let's get this done. Idle, flicker enabled. Oh my god, I did the wrong thing. I am so smart. Fuck me. Not literally, but fuck, just god damn it. This is the moment where I definitely wish that this script was shorter. Because this is a little bit sluggish, let's just put it that way. Having to wait for it to not only compile the script, but then update the unit options so you can actually access them too. Right? Oh wait, maybe I don't even need to do that. It seems... Okay, I can't move that for some reason. Oh, it's just because it's getting sluggish in here as well. It's like that issue I had the other day too, for some reason. But it seems like I don't actually have to rebuild the unit options. It knows now that this is not a float anymore, it's a bool. Idle, clicker, auto, enabled. Because we also need to set it. Yeah, it seems like as soon as you build the unit options, it sometimes gets sluggish like that. I wonder if it's something to do with like memory and such. We need the clicker delay. Because that's going to be like the setting that we want. And then let's do... Should we do time? Should we do it time-based? Because then if I type in 1 here, then currently it would be once per second, basically. Oh yeah, this is a little bit annoying. Okay, I can work with it, but it takes like a second to update. I'm sure that reopening Unity would fix it, but I don't want to do that. Actually, I don't even need to do that. I can just copy you and then say on right click. I just remembered another setting that we need. Again, I have been thinking about this off stream, so we have auto clicker enabled, we have the delay. But we actually need one more bool, which is called auto clicker we can either do is toggle or is hold. Let's do is hold. Set that to true. So it's a little bit of an extra feature that I wanted to implement for this auto clicker. Because I want the player to be able to to define whether or not it should be a toggle or whether or not it should be a hold, and then default it to hold. So basically, whenever you're holding down right click by default, then it'll do the auto clicking, and then once you release it, it stops doing that. So that way you can easily like switch between like individually clicking UI elements and then just holding down right click to quickly click a bunch of stuff. But some people might want it to be a toggle, so we're also going to do that. And then it would just be like you right click and then you're locked into auto clicking until you right click again. If you want to interact with any other UI, you unfortunately in that case then have to untoggle it. Because then what we'll do is on mouse input action down and then one on hold, and then do a bool check for that variable to see whether or not it should continue or if it shouldn't do anything. Because that way then if it should be toggled, then it'll do the toggle logic, and then if it's a hold, then it'll do the whole logic, and then it'll continue in where everything else is taken care of. And then we do some bool checks later down the line after target acquisition to make sure that you know, if we're auto clicking no matter which method, then we don't progress into like, oh, clicking on quests and stuff. That would be super annoying, basically. But yeah, everything that I'm implementing right now, that goes into a polished version of the demo. That's at least the goal. And this demo is going to go onto Steam once it's like got the minimum requirements for me to be ready for it. So hopefully no longer than the rest of this, like the entirety of this month, to finish this demo version. And then depending on how fast I get done with the demo version content, which will require a little bit of level building as well, actually. Possibly some asset creation. But after this, basically, then if I get done within this month, like I have a week's worth of extra, then the next step, of course, for me is to do a little bit of business development. So that's going to cut down on the amount of streams that I do for a little while, as I need to figure out things for like the Steam workshop and all that stuff, which is mainly just going to be a lot of reading and maybe also dealing with some sensitive data that I don't want to, like, you know, accidentally share. So when we get into that, yeah, we'll take it there from there. Okay, so what is this? This is when you release the left button. Is interactable rotation. Trigger event. Trigger custom event called trigger event. I have no memory of what that is. Also, this sounds super dangerous. Calling a trigger event a trigger, like just calling a trigger event. What the fuck? And it's on this object? No, it's on the target object. If it's interactable rotation. I think this is like the remainder of a test functionality. I'll just move that to the side because, oh boy, that looks dangerous. We'll just forget about it. So right button down and hold. And we're gonna need some of these. Actually, none of those. We just need a branch, but yeah. 2 to be exact. Oh wait, no, we can actually make do with 1. So, idle clicker, and then we need the is hold bool. Just get that for now.
We got your favorite thing, disappointment.
What kind of disappointment? What? That came out of nowhere. What are you on about? Damn it, Tuda. What you on about? Oh wait, no, I do need to.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Not that bad.
Nerd, you're a fucking nerd. Nerd,
You're on a fucking roll, that's what that is.
No one likes you. No one likes you.
You're on a fucking roll. Ay, ay, ay. It's Toto. Savage. So auto clicker is hold. And then we need a fixed update. Some redeem not work? What? What do you mean some redeem not work? Like some sound redeems? Or did they just like did they just not come through? Because it could be a configuration error on my end. I'm just logging into Stream Elements to take a look. Loyalty. streamstore. Redemptions. Why is the redemptions thing completely empty?
More work.
More work? Oh, okay, that one popped in.
Work.
So is it because some of them didn't come through? Because if you could tell me which ones didn't work, then I can figure out if it's because they are not set up correctly. Shouldn't be, but well, Toto? Toto. I'm on the thing here, so if there's any of these that don't work, then let me know. I was referring to this redemptions page though, but unfortunately it doesn't show things when they're oh wait, no, here it is. It's Toto's favorite redeem. I'm noticing a pattern here. Oh wait, maybe I can actually use this to see these redemptions.
Nerd. You're a fucking nerd. Nerd. You're a fucking nerd. And no one likes you. No one likes you.
There you go. Shouldn't be any delays or like restrictions or anything like that. I can't even, it's like in the top, isn't it? There it is. Oh, there's a user cooldown of 10 seconds. Is that true for all of them? I think there is a 10-second cooldown for every single one of these. So you can't do the same like twice in a row within 10 seconds, Toto. Just letting you know. If that's what you were trying to do, then yes, it wouldn't work. Oh my god, that was loud. I should not do that in here. Oops. I forget the volume on these are like super like just super delayed. Possibly. There's a lot of stream delay on my streams because of Restream, unfortunately. So there's delay on buying things and when they get triggered, but then there's also stream delay on top of that. So you redeem things, then it takes a couple seconds to process, and then it plays, but then the stream delay, so you see that a couple seconds after even then, I think. Or do the two delays actually cancel these out? I don't know. I don't fucking know. But yeah, just making sure that you're not losing points or for no reason. Flow variables. Graph variables, maybe even. Just figuring out how I want to do this. Variables, graph. Set graph variable. Because it's basically like a localized global variable, if you will. So it can be used from anywhere within this graph. Look at this photograph. So on enable. Then we need to see here. Float literal, a literal float. So we can initialize this value to 0, and then we call this auto clicker timer. Okay, let's move these two over. And let's also add a sequence here. This is on down, right? Yep. Also need one that's on up. So when we press down on right mouse button, the very first thing we do is that we set that the auto clicker is enabled. And then over here, we need to check if the auto clicker is enabled. Auto clicker enabled. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, so. Because this basically should make sure that if we're trying to left click while an auto clicker is running, it doesn't do anything. It just sits there. And this is an initialize auto clicker timer. Auto clicker timer. Don't know why that was in the camel case, or yeah, capitalized or whatever it's called. And then when you release, then we need to make sure that auto clicker is getting disabled. There we go. And then here we want to define whether, like, what type of auto clicker input we want to do. Can I do like a weird ass control thing? Because that's a branch. Nah, let's just do it this way. So we need to get that graph variable. Then what is it called? Per second something. So we need the auto clicker delay probably multiplied by some kind of factor. We can just multiply by 1 for now. Do a literal float. We want that per second. That's like using delta time and all that, if I remember correctly. Then it's a frame rate normalized value of a scalar. So how we say, like, you know, you have 60 FPS, which is 60 frames per second. Then if we do this per second, then it's normalized to your frames in that sense. If I remember how to use it correctly, at least. So we gotta do an add. And then a clamp as well. Because we gotta take our pre-existing auto clicker timer, which starts at 0, and then we gotta add our variable. And then if this value oh wait, no. This is not where we use the delay. This is like the max. So it counts from 0 up to how much we want the delay to be. And then we have how much it should count up. So right now it's just 1 per second. So in other words, if I set auto-clicker delay to 2 right now, it should auto-click once every 2 seconds, basically. That means if we want it to be milliseconds based, then we just change this float value to a decimal point, I guess. So every second we add like a decimal point to... I mean, it doesn't actually even need to be that, does it? Wait, yeah, it does. Because otherwise I have to input like auto-clicker delay in milliseconds. Or, yeah. So like in 0.0 values. Something stupid. No, wait, that doesn't make any sense. But regardless, we also need a flow control. Where are you? Toggle flow. Oh yeah, this is actually... No, wait, yeah. This needs fixed update as the input. I don't really know if it needs to be... It shouldn't necessarily be a coroutine. Unless we use weight units. But then if on mouse input auto clicker is hold is false, then we toggle that. Let's actually move this further down. So we have the up mouse up event in here, because after we've done mouse up, we also need to make sure to disable that flow up there. There we go. And we're gonna need the same thing down here, except it's when if auto clicker is hold is true. Wait, does it even matter? No, it doesn't even matter this. I mean, the difference here is that I could do without a fixed update, I think. But then it's just like on mouse input hold, I think. Then while it holds, it sends out every frame. So that way I wouldn't need to do the on up thing. So whilst this is on, we want to do the timing. And then we want to do a branch. Oh, I also need to do one more thing actually. I need to just set that variable. So we set the auto clicker timer, and then here we need a check on what that value is. So we do another get. And then we can say is equal to. So is auto clicker timer equal to the delay, aka like has it reached the end of how far of it should count? And then if that is true, then it should like do a click, like it should click basically. Amongst other things, like it also needs to set this auto click timer back to 0. We take a literal float, set that to 0, chuck it in there. So is equal to its timer end is true, and then we should be able to send things through here. Then it sets this to 0, and then it continues adding here because it's now 0, and then it's gradually adding up till the clamp value. So if we add, how many decimal points is it per millisecond? Is it 0.01 or is it 0.1? Because it's 100 milliseconds to a second, so that would be 0.01. Otherwise it would have to be 10, so if we add 0.01 per second, that's like saying adding a millisecond every second. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Does it? Because then it takes 100 seconds for a millisecond to pass. And not 100 milliseconds for a second to pass. Did I say that right? Yeah, we can see what's going on in here at least when we play the game, so we'll just try it. Should I mention that math has never been my strong suit? Also been a while since I've made a timer in this. Oh, that should not start off on. Oh right, I can't do the I can't do it with the up event. Okay, so this does work like a as expected, so I can just actually do this. Yeah, so every second it adds 0.1, so now it takes 100 seconds for a millisecond to pass. Oh, it shouldn't be this, it should be the clamp value. So we take that from up there, actually. We don't even need that one. Dunk. So we can actually see the... So this would be like a click event. Dunk. Dunk. Okay, so where is it? Shit. It's gotten a little bit cramped in here. Let me take this stuff and move it all the way over there or something, I don't know. Somewhere it's not in the way. I think this is okay. Don't want you. You can stay. So here we go. Obviously this is going to be a little bit chaotic in some instances. Oh right, it should happen after the check. Interesting. Okay. Let's just not do this check for now. It has to be like a button up somewhere. Left up. Is interacting is set to false every time. So I think we need that logic in here as well. So every time it like runs through this, then it sets it to false. Because then we like don't interact and then we go up here. Are we interacting? No. Then we can interact, set it immediately after, right? Okay. Well, not working quite as it should. Target game object is null. Target game object gets set to null after you interact with things. Okay. It has to be like somewhere here that we're doing an is interacting check here. So this is the problem. If is interacting is true, then it stops acquiring targets. And it never gets a chance. Like in between here, I need to go up and reacquire a target somehow. I think we can do that in a little bit of a sneaky way with a custom event, maybe. But we'll see if this works. We need a trigger and we need a custom event. So basically we set interaction is interacting to false. Then we trigger a custom event. And this is just like, I could also just hook it up wildly by setting the flow up accordingly, but this is a little bit cleaner. Because then I can just, I should be able to just funnel it through here. Because then the flow from before continues and then it checks. I might have to, I don't know if I have to put it in directly there, but we'll see. But what do we call it? Auto clicker interaction is interacting override or something. Like, it's a very long variable name, but I have a feeling that this is one of those cases where this is such a wacky concept that if I don't do something like this, I'll forget about it. How it works. So okay. All right. No. What? So it gets sent up here and then it's like, oh, this is null. How's this null? Saving, loading, block by UI, leaving level. Might have to actually funnel up for the very beginning up here. Instead of putting it in, like, skipping ahead. Might have to literally force it to run alongside this update here. It just works. Was a little bit laggy because the flow graph is open, but nice. We don't need that sequence after all. Okay. So if I have a delay of 1, which would be like the smallest value, or if I set it to 100, right? So now it has to count up to 100 seconds. What if we say 100 per second? Now we're back to like 1, but then 50 milliseconds. 10 milliseconds. One millisecond. I think that's pretty fast, yo. There's something satisfying about this, I don't know why. Feel like an idle game yet? What if we say 0.1? That's like 0.1 millisecond. Point 0.01, so that should be 100 times every milliseconds. But I don't know if it's even allowed to do that often. It's definitely efficient though, considering that I don't have any upgrades to my harvesting levels. And since it runs through the target acquisition just like everything else does, it shouldn't be able to click on something twice, because by the time it's clicked on it once and it runs the next check, then that item's already gonna be gone. Because it deletes the item before it's allowed to continue code execution. Or should do at least. Nice. I could do that all day. Okay. So auto clicker delay in milliseconds. How do you even spell milliseconds? Milliseconds? Doesn't even matter. It's just a tooltip. Just for me, just for future me. In case I ever need it. Does it actually... Yeah, it does have to recompile the script when you do that. God damn. Milliseconds. Not quite done yet, but it's working now. So let's see. This needs to go. So if right click down was pressed, and then we just check this actual bool here. Auto clicker enabled. So what's the state of this auto clicker? If it is true false, then we need to enable it. If it is true and we press down, we need to disable it. So this is basically our way of toggling it. And then after disabling it, we also need to turn this flow control over here to be off as well. So all of this auto click toggle, that's basically what it is. And this is all we need for auto click hold. And actually, let's just merge this in here, because it actually belongs to there. Those are our two like inputs. And then let's see, all of this is basically the timer. Remember to document your code. Auto click timer. I guess we can say like in milliseconds. And then this is basically like auto clicker enabled. Do we have those here? Don't have one down here. So I do need to set this variable here as well. And let's do this in a clever way. So we do a once, because we only need to do this once. Auto clicker enabled set. So we can put it in here once, and then after it's basically set it. So yeah, we'll have to rechange this box. So we do this auto clicker once, and then after it's done it once, I guess. But that would only allow it to do it once, I think. Might have to use a sequence here. Just do it for good measure. So first we do this once. And then it basically continues to do all the clicking, and then on mouse button up, actually. If it is false, then I need to reset this. Or actually, I could just do it regardless. So every time you release the mouse button, it's just going to reset this so that whenever you're not telling it to auto-click, because this is a hold, then it allows you to do all the other stuff again. Looks pretty neat. Can even move it down like this. Auto click is is interacting override. Let's just call it that. I can call it whatever I want. There we go. And if I wanted to, I could technically put all this in a super unit as well. So why don't we do that? Super unit and control outputs. Call you exit. We don't need an input for this one, right? So we hook the exit up to there, disconnect you, and then we just cut all of this into the super unit. Did I misspell exit? It says ext. There we go. And then we call this super unit the auto clicker, because then all the auto clicker stuff is in here literally. Nice and tidy. If I ever need to monitor how this works, we only need to have this open anyway. And then if I need to see it in relation to everything else, then you just watch the outer hierarchy instead. And then the auto clicker is hold variable. That's something we chuck into the actually, we could actually do even more than that, but it's not really necessary, but we can do it. Oh. Am I not allowed to do it this way? Variable not found? Hold on, wait, did I delete the Oh, maybe it doesn't work that way. Oh wait, I'm a dum-dum. I only need that auto-clicker timer in here. But we should still be able to do it like this. Okay, well that's good to know. So the graph variables are globally available, localized within a hierarchy in the flow graphs as well. So if you put it into a super unit, then it's only available for that super unit. That's interesting. Should be good. Kind of. Okay, so oh yeah, I haven't implemented that. So yeah, right now when I click on quests, it'll not be able to interact with the UI, but it will allow me to open up the quests. swing. This is so satisfying now. Okay, well, so far so good. Let's do this right away. Auto clicker enabled. Okay. Is running. So, because I think I want to use auto clicker enabled as the bool that you can set in accessibility or gameplay features, so that for those that don't want to even have the option of cheating right at their hands when they start the game, it's going to be disabled by default, so you have to actively go in and enable it. Could also be interesting because I could make it so that when achievements get implemented for the game, make specific achievements that require to not have the auto clicker enabled, maybe. But I think it would be, no, wait, there's a better way of doing that. Instead of outright telling people they can't get specific achievements while having the auto clicker, I think I would rather do it so that it's a completely third setting under accessibility that is by default enabled, which is like disable achievements from when auto clicker is enabled or something, and then it's just like a second, another check that whenever you get the achievements is like, okay, is this bool toggled, and then if it's enabled or whatever, then you as a player still have the option to cheese gain achievements, but you're not locked out of them because of using an accessibility feature. I think that's the most important part there, because it's not really like a cheat. Like, it's not intended as a cheat for the game. You can consider it one, but it's more of a, I got bad wrist pain and do like the game concept but can't play it because it requires me to click on objects ad infinitum and my hand can't keep up, basically. So that's mainly what it's there for. It also means that people don't have to download dodgy, go to dodgy websites to get an auto clicker if they really want one. Of course, with all that added functionality. So there's a little bit for everyone. Did I update unit options? I can't remember. Seems like it, because that went really fast. Okay, auto clicker enabled. And then we need to change that variable, actually. So auto clicker running. I need both to get a set. Auto clicker running. Let's just start by swapping these out. Everywhere it says enabled, I need to swap it out with the is running. Because then we'll add another bool check in front of everything here where it's just like, okay, is it even enabled to begin with? And then do we also need to check? Yeah, is running. Get you. That also makes more sense from a semantic point, I guess. So we don't actually set the auto clicker is enabled in here at all. So yeah, the very first check we do on any of these would be, do we even allow auto clicking to begin with? If this bool is set to true, which it isn't by default, then yeah. I guess I don't really need to do that check there. Just let it reset this flow. Yeah, that should be pretty much it. Now I shouldn't be able to use the auto clicker at all because we disabled it. Okay. So add that item back. Item bug. And then we need to set up the where are you? Options menu. And then that would be for options container and under gameplay. Gameplay settings, settings container. What's the setting title here? Oh, that's depth of field. Yeah, that, why is that even in there? Then what we can do is that I can disable all of these while I'm editing this, and then once I'm done, I can just re-enable them. That way I can see what we're doing. So we need something from the templates. Because we need a toggle setting. We need a slider setting with input. And we need another toggle. So one for enabling and one for wait, don't do that, Unity. Don't expand that on your own. Yeah, we need one for toggling the auto clicker and then one for changing the mode of the auto clicker from hold to a toggle. And then of course the speed. So it's under accessibility and then the setting title text. Here is auto clicker. Auto clicker title. And auto clicker enabled. and then auto clicker is hold. Auto clicker enable and is hold. Those are the two variables that we, or events that we're going to set up. Auto clicker is hold and enabled. It's called is enabled, or is it just called enabled? It's just called enabled. Okay. And then the other setting we want to set would be auto clicker is hold. Auto clicker is hold setting. Just is hold. Auto clicker is hold toggle. Auto clicker enabled. Auto clicker enabled. And then what do we call the speed? Because that's the delay. Auto clicker delay. Auto clicker delay. Then we put ms in parentheses. Yeah, 1 decimal point should be enough. The minimum delay should be 0.1 maybe? And then the max value, I guess, might as well just be once every second, otherwise like, because you can do 10 clicks a second if you really want to. On average, it would probably be more close to like 5 or 6 or something if you're not even trying. So that's just clicking around. So even setting it to 0.6 would still be like realistic for human to achieve, no problem. Wait, then it needs to be able to be set to 0 point something. 0.01, right? Wait, what? I can't allow that? Are you serious? Are you serious? But I don't, what? Oh, it's set to whole numbers. I'm a doofus. I was like, why is that not working? Then that would have to be 2 decimal points. Let's also set the title for the other 2 settings now that we're at it. Auto clicker. hold to activate. Oh, right. Or toggle. It's a little bit weird though, because it's like hold a toggle, yes. So it's like just How did this logic go again? The auto clicker is hold. I should really have made that be an is toggle, because that might make a bit better sense. The issue is now that the logic is inversed, so it's like if I can change the code and without changing the variable, but then it's going to be confusing to look through the code later. So let's actually do the sensible thing of changing the variable name instead, so that is toggle. Doesn't mean I have to rehook things in the flow macro, but other than that, should be fine. Re-update the unit options. All right, then I should actually have changed the script to also default it to be false. Yeah. We can still do that though, even after changing the unit options. It's not really like it matters. Because once I set it in the inspector, I will never have to touch it again. And in truth, it doesn't really matter what the defaults are, but then again, I guess there's some people, they do rely on the developer's default settings for everything, which makes sense. I mean, especially if you just bought a new game, the very last thing you want to do is jump straight into the options menu and have to change all the settings. Usually for me, that tends to just be like going into the settings and see what graphics options there are and make sure that everything is set appropriately, and disable motion blur first and foremost, and then maybe check through the and also go through the sound settings if it's a little bit loud, which it usually is. But that's just due to how I have my setup, of course. The miles is gonna vary. But yeah, it's not like the first thing I look at is keybinds. I guess for this game, taking a look through gameplay might be useful, because there's some features in there that are going to be handy, but in order to play the game, nah, it isn't really necessary. Okie dokie. Hold or toggle, that's where we were. Is toggled? Toggle true? Toggle to activate, maybe? Because this isn't the auto clicker settings like sub, so I could also call this, I guess, just click delay. And then the very top, let's also fix you. Enable auto clicker. Yes. We set up these. Not the slider though. What was the name of it again? Auto clicker delay. This gets fed to the settings manager. Let's see here. Yeah, this needs a reference to the idle clicker. Whoop. That's where the settings for the auto clickers is set. It also means that in the future, if I need other settings from there, I can manipulate them through this one, the settings manager, such as the input type, for instance. It's gonna be fun the day that I have to make controller support for this, because yes, I do want to make the game controller supported as well. I don't see why not. I mean, it's fairly simple control scheme wise, so should be more than possible to map all the inputs onto a controller. There's a lot of UI though. I have no idea how that would work actually. Because of course I can make you move around the scene, but without giving you a digital cursor to move around with your right analog stick or something, then I don't know how. Like, that would probably be the easiest way of doing it. And then there's all the scroll menus that you'd have to use, like the bumpers or something. But then I would have to do some checks on whether or not you're looking at UI or in the world. So whether or not you should zoom or, yeah. I think that's actually already in there because scrolling in a menu checks whether or not you're in a menu or outside. Okay, so we got the idle clicker reference. We need to rebuild those unit options or update. It's definitely taking a second. It might be because I did change that one default variable in the idle clicker. That's probably why it's taking so long. I hope. Yeah, has to be that. Nice weather that we're having. Don't really know what to talk about when it's just like updating unit options. Oh, something's happening. Cool. And we are in the settings manager. All right. Actually, this is all camera, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay, so let's actually change the name of this from gameplay to camera. And then let's do a super unit straight away. We just need a single enter. And you are gonna be... I mean, we could do one for the auto clicker specifically, but it's not that many variables. Let's just call it auto clicker for now, and then if I can merge some things together just to consolidate it into fewer super units later, then we'll do it there. Auto... Oh, that could have ended wrong. Auto clicker enabled. And this is already set to a bool. Just need to do auto clicker enabled. Get and set. Plug it in. Oh, and instead of camera control, we have the settings manager idle clicker. Get that one. And I need to do that down here as well. So this is the set that we need. And we only have 3 variables, so only need 3 of these for now. Okay, so we have is enabled. But we also need auto clicker is toggle. Is toggle. I just realized I have to change it in here as well if I want it to be this. Consistency and all that. And then the last one was the auto clicker delay. Auto clicker is toggle. Auto clicker delay. You need to be afloat. You also need to get the getters. Auto clicker toggle. Get. Get it. Auto clicker. There's a lot of that. Delay. Okie dokie. Just take that from up here. There. Okie dokes. Okay, calm down, Unity. Take it easy. Enable toggled and delay. First are good. There's also one more thing. We have the confirmed defaults container here where there's one for gameplay. And need the yes button. That would be the enable toggle, the is toggle, and the delay slider. Add those to this sucker. Cool. So now if in theory I add all of this UI and enable it again, then this menu is like complete. Yeah, I haven't quite figured out how I want to do some of these titles, because right here we have a major title, which is, okay, it's accessibility under gameplay, instead of having like an accessibilities tab. And then under there is a subcategory for auto clicker where I could have like, I don't know how to implement colorblind filters and such, but that could be like another setting, even though that's graphics related in theory. But then there's camera, and that doesn't have like a subcategory because it's just the camera controls, period. And then the titles here are self-explanatory. So here you just really only need the major title. But I could also, instead of accessibility here, say like auto clicker, right? And then accessibility is like just inferred. At some point I probably also need to consider like a tooltip overlay for this, so that when you're hovering over the selection fields, it can give an explanation of what the things do if needed be. So for instance here, if enabling the auto clicker, I could say like, oh, it will disable achievements by default. Oh no, wait, that was not it. That was supposed to be like its own thing. That's true. That was supposed to be a separate separate tick box altogether if I need, if wanted. Okay, let's give it a spin, because this is the first menu's worth of settings that's actually so far down that you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom here. Can't even see any of it. Yep, so the settings definitely initialized correctly. Let's go to our idle clicker. Yep. Okay. Make this just a head bigger. There we go. So yeah, right click does nothing. So we go in here and it stays scrolled, which is nice. It's actually kind of nice. Might have to speed up the scroll of this because it's actually, you need to scroll quite a lot for it to move. So enable auto clicker. Now it should be hold. Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on here. What are you complaining about? Auto clicker is hold value. Oh right, I totally forgot to change those. Whoops. Let's just go out of play mode for good measure's sake. I mean, it's even red, so Auto clicker is toggle, that's why. I even said that I needed to go in and change them, but then totally forgot to actually do so. There we go. Now it should work. Since I already went in and enabled it in the settings, then it should load those from the save. And it does. Doesn't quite behave like it should. Oh, so that slider needs to be a little bit differently set up. I see that now. I see that now. Minimum value should probably 0.1, but then max value is 100, so it's like 100 milliseconds to a second. So if it's at 100, it's just one click every second, which is like, you know, why even use it? But there were still some other things that weren't quite working though. It's like the toggle thing. Oh, I know why. It's because I need to inverse the logic. In here. So here. Auto click toggle on. And then here it has to be false. There's like, is auto click enabled or is it disabled? Yeah, so now it's a bit like slightly faster than twice every second. Cool. How about the toggle? That work? It does. Can I interact with... Oh right, I haven't implemented that other thing yet. And this is the very highest speed. What did I set it to? I think I set it to 10 as the default. You know, it's still pretty fast as a default setting. But yeah, if I allow people to set it to 0.1, then it should be more than fast enough. I mean, this is really fast. Considering I'm only doing 1 damage. Harvesting 1 at a time. Cool. It just works. Yeah. That's the auto clicker at least done. That was the fun part. I'm kind of procrastinating as well a little bit because I really don't want to touch keybinds unless I absolutely have to, but I know I have to. God damn it. I don't think I can run away from it anymore. Keybinds. Freaking keybinds. So, where do you even start with this? Unity Input Manager? Okay, so you have a physical location of keys. So if I set it to WASD, for instance, on my keyboard, it would work on non-QWERTY layout keyboards too. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. And we've got input axes, adding, removing, copying virtual axes, mapping virtual axes to controls. Okay. That's very briefly what a input manager is. Okay, well, not sure how to deal with that. What happens if we just type in input? Input in Unity engine. Okay, not exactly super useful. Unity, how to remap input. Wait, what was it called again? Input manager. This is in 2013, holy shit. Only way to do is create your own input manager. Third-party input manager. There are quite a few on the asset store. Some are free, but this is from 2017. Any movement or roadmap on this? Asked in 2018. Huh. Okay, so that does not look super promising. Really now? Modify input manager by scripting. You can't, but it's pretty easy to make your input manager. Okay. If game input manager.get key down attack. Okay. Not only let you customize the keys, but you can create whatever names you want, not just the few default ones that Unity provides. Okay. But then you don't get to use the physical stuff and all that. And then I have to figure out how to do all the axes and all that jazz. So in 2018, Unity keeps promising as a configurable input manager, but so far nothing. Common practice is to fill the gap with something like Rewired from the asset store. Unity asset store might be an investment I have to make if it's... Wait. Rewired. What does this do? Intelligent hot plugging. Oof, it's a little bit spicy though. What does this do? Advanced input system that completely redefines how you work with input, giving you an unprecedented level of control over one of the most important components of your game. Agreed. Native input. Rewired is not just another Unity input wrapper like other packages. Rewired supports many platforms that Unity supports with extended native support on Windows, OS X, and Linux, and a lot of others. Allowing for far more control over input makes possible some very powerful features such as full hot plugging support for joysticks, okay, or for more than 20 buttons per controller, gamepad vibration, and more. Rewired is the only input system available for Unity with native support for all these platforms, and the only to offer these advanced features, okay? Other platforms Rewired utilizes Unity's input system, so you still get access to all the other features it provides. What does it look like?
With 8 different players with 8 different controllers connected. As I press a button on each controller, you can see the correct player responds. Now I'm wireless controller.
Okay.
A 4-player game, and you have move horizontal or multiple simultaneously.
Those are just slides. Okay, there's also some inspector stuff, but it's like so tiny. Oh, those are just their portfolio of games it's used in. This might be exactly what I need though. Because no way in hell am I gonna make this on my own. And even making a civil system would probably take me a lot longer than buying this and getting to know it.
Here on the settings page, you have global.
Because this is a pretty long video though. Like almost an hour long.
That you can set for Rewired. So the first setting is the update loop. This Rewired allows you to update your input that are very different from Unity. So I'm going to show you how that works. The first thing we need is to have a Rewired input manager. So the input manager contains all your input settings. You're only allowed to have one input manager in the scene, and the input manager, usually you're going to have one input manager for your whole game, and that's this option here, don't destroy on load here, is to make it easier for you to be able to create that one input manager and have it exist.
Works just fine for my bootloader scene
and such. The core of Rewired is this editor here. So you launch the editor and you get a panel where you're able to make changes to your input settings. This replaces the Unity input manager that you're used to here. Now you'll be doing your input editing here in the Rewired editor instead. And there are some concepts that are mirrored from the Unity system. In the Unity input manager, you have these what they call axes, and they are similar to what Rewired terms as an action. Essentially, an action would be any sort of action that you'd want to take based on some sort of input, like move horizontal, fire, open menu, exit.
Okay, I think this is something I definitely want to utilize and acquire. But that's gonna take a lot of time figuring out how that works. So I might not do that right now. Or rather, I kind of have to do that to get the keybinds done. But I don't think I want to do that on stream. So maybe that's like just, it's like really early though. Well, really and really, it's been like about 3 hours. So maybe that's just like a indicator that maybe we're going to call it a little bit earlier today, I think. Because there's no point in me sitting here watching almost hour-long video going back and forth, so it would take more than an hour, and just listening in and figuring out how shit works. I would much rather look at it off stream, figure out how it works, get some basics up and running, and then see you all guys at some later point in another stream, and then update you on the progress on it. That would be next week then. Yeah. Wait, Toto, you're streaming? Hold on. Wait a minute, Toto streaming? Hold on. Well, let's just do this for funsies. But yeah, that's pretty much where we want to gonna stop today. Tomorrow is gonna be I want to say 7 Days to Die. It depends a little bit. It might be a mix of 7 Days to Die for some of the stream, and then Shipbreaker from some of the rest of it, and then there's Saturday too, because I kind of want to give 7 Days to Die a good amount of time allotted for it, so that people get a chance to play while I'm streaming, I guess. So yeah, I'll try and see if I can do it both Friday and Saturday, and then hopefully squeeze in Shipbreaker somewhere in between. Shipbreaker is a fairly time-consuming game. It's really cool. It's got a lot of destruction, and it can be very punishing if you don't know what you're doing. And I haven't played it since it got out in early access like over a year ago, or however long. Must have been in development for quite a while. But we'll take a look at that in the weekend. So at any rate, thanks everyone who's been dropping by and been listening in. Hope you learned something, and I will see you all on the next one. And let's do this just because. But yeah, bye for now. Stick around though for the raid. Okay, apparently I can't just raid Toto. That was kind of what I wanted to do. Lol, that's funny. It says invalid username. What the fuck? Oh well, I guess it doesn't work. Well, I'll be over and watching Toto and you don't, she says. But she's over there. So yeah, I'm just gonna shut it down for today. Later.